Hey guys, this is Andrew again. I'm working on a 2001 Chevy Tahoe 4x4 with the 5.3 V8. I'm going to be replacing the brake fluid today. Brakes were feeling a bit spongy, and honestly, I don't think this fluid had been changed in the 20 years of life that this truck has been on the road. It's got 160,000 miles. To do this, you see a lot of guys say that you got to take the wheels off to get access to each caliper and bleed nipple. I find that to be a lot more work than you need to do, and you can save yourself a buttload of time and be safer if you do what I'm going to show you how to do, and you can access them from just underneath the truck. You just got to get yourself positioned right. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take fluid out of the brake reservoir here. I find that a syringe like this works best. My wife had a couple of these from working in the veterinary field that they used to use for medications or whatever. These were unused, and she said I could take them, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this to suck out the fluid. As you can see, this will be pretty effective. You can also use a turkey baster, but this is going to make my life pretty easy compared to other ways you might find yourself doing it without some ingenious little tools. So suck all the fluid out. You're going to want to replace the fluid after you drain everything out of here. That way you don't leave any air in the system or allow any air to get sucked out when you're bleeding the system. So DOT3 brake fluid is what this vehicle recommends. For newer Chevys, it might be something different, but for this model year and years prior, they were using DOT3 brake fluid. You can find it at your auto parts store. Fill up the new fluid again in here before you start bleeding the system to make sure there is no air in the system. That's your worst enemy. After pulling brake fluid out with the syringe or the turkey baster, you're going to want to fill that up with new fluid. It appears that my canister is actually stained from the old fluid, but I can assure you there is new fluid in there now. And the reason I put new fluid in now before draining is because you never want to leave this empty to pull air through the system while you're draining from the calipers, because that's just going to create spongy brakes and you're going to have to bleed the system all over again. So best to fill this up with new fluid after you've drained the old out of it. That way you can assure there's not going to be any air in the lines. I'll be using these special tools today to pull brake fluid from the system. This one on the right here is a container that you hook up to your air compressor. You see the connector here on the left side, and then this side goes into your brake caliper, and it hooks to the bead to pull brake fluid out of it. It basically creates a vacuum with the air compressor and sucks fluid out of the system. While that's happening, you'll want to have this bottle filled up, or a bottle like it, just something where the nozzle actually goes down into the reservoir. And you can see here there's a valve on it, and you can turn that valve to open and close and allow more or less brake fluid to go into the system. Really useful tool. You could find them at most auto parts stores. The other thing you can use is one of those handheld vacuum pumps that you just sit here and continue to have to pump on, and it actually draws vacuum and can pull brake fluid from your system also. Okay, so here you'll see your brake caliper. Give you a nice overview of that. Your CV boot. Right here, you're going to see the drain plug for the brake bleeding process. This is going to be a 10 millimeter wrench to undo this. You'll see these on the front. This is going to be the mirror opposite on the passenger side, and then in the back they're actually going to be more so on the top here. So I can show you how you're going to want to undo that, because it can be a little bit tricky from the bottom. of the vehicle. But first, what you're going to want to do is get this bolt loosened to the point of where fluid's coming out of it. Then we can go ahead and hook up our handy dandy bleeding assembly, the one that hooks the air compressor, and start sucking that fluid out and pulling new fluid in. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is you're going to want to start bleeding the system from the caliper furthest away from your reservoir or your master cylinder. So that's going to be the passenger rear brake caliper. I'm on the driver's side rear right now, just because it's easier, more light over here. But you'll see right there is going to be the brake bleeding nipple that I was talking about. So I'm going to show you a trick to get that one undone, as well on the other side, with a 10mm wrench and a couple extensions. So as you can see here, I have the ratchet extensions going all the way down to the top of the rear brake caliper here. This is on the driver's side. 10mm actually gets pretty snug on that bolt or the nipple to undo it. And being up here gives you leverage. Believe me, don't try doing it from underneath the truck, because it is going to be a pain in the butt and you're probably going to bust a knuckle. So give this a shot. You can see down there where it's hooked up. I hope you can see that. This worked for me pretty good, so give it a shot. Okay guys, I've finished bleeding the system until I saw clear fluid running through my bleed line. So it should be brand new fluid in the system now. I'm going to go ahead and give it a couple pumps on the brakes, take her for a drive, make sure the brakes feel good. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today. This is a pretty easy way to do it. You don't have to take the wheels off like they tell you. Save you some time there, and it's also a lot safer, especially if you don't have a lift, to not have to remove wheels and do something like this. So guys, thanks for watching again, and good luck out there working on your vehicles.